sister's a therapist and I tell jokes. We both want to help all kinds of folks.
Hello, and welcome to My Sister's a Therapist. My name is Virginia Jones. I'm a stand-up comedian, but my sister, Laura Ryan, is a therapist.
Hi, I'm Laura Ryan. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, full-time sister to Virginia Jones.
Right? I've been her sister her whole life.
I never remembered a moment when you weren't my sister.
You know, life is for learning. And one thing that I have learned from this podcast is that you have to enunciate on stage. You have to be comprehensible on stage. But there's a lot of things that I mushmouth.
Same.
I thought I was pretty good, but I listened to recordings. I'm like, well, that's not how you say that word.
I've learned from the recordings. I often get really loud for no particular reason.
For no reason. Laura, this week, it's your topic. What are we talking about this week?
This week, we're talking about affairs and infidelity.
Ooh.
We're going to call this one, You're Cheating Hard.
Oh, emotionally charged topic.
So what's your experience with cheating? How many times have you done it?
I have both cheated and been cheated on.
Which one was better?
When I cheated, it was definitely pre-therapy me. It was a very selfish me. My justification was always, well, this relationship is on the outs anyway. Anytime I cheated, if I had been busted and the relationship had ended, I would have been cool with it. But I wasn't prepared to end the relationship until I was sure the next lily pad I was jumping to.
So it was cowardice.
Super great. So yeah, cowardice.
What about when you were cheated on?
When I have been cheated on, it was very interesting because the relationship that I was in was not going well. And yet I was super surprised. And of course, betrayed and all that stuff. I'm not a suspicious person and I don't consider myself a very jealous person. So it really came out of left field for me.
I don't experience myself as a particularly jealous person. But some things that have happened to me at the hands of men, I am a lot more suspicious than I used to be.
So I know you're better than me, but you've never cheated on anyone in a relationship?
No.
How about emotional affairs?
No, my anxiety is too high. I just can't. This is also why I've never been able to pull off a murder. Like I couldn't deal with.
Thought about it.
Oh,
right.
I've thought about it.
But like when it comes down to it, as Lady Macbeth said, you can't screw your courage to the sticking place.
No, I cannot. When the rubber meets the road, it's just a no-go.
Even if you tried to run someone over with your car, you think?
I've tried. Trust me.
Okay,
I start to accelerate and then my anxiety takes over and I can't do it.
So Laura has a clean record, no affairs and no murders. And we want to say that to the police.
Absolutely. But yeah, it's interesting. I used to be very, very critical and judgmental of those who cheated until I was in a really, really hopeless relationship.
Right.
And I didn't feel like I could find my way out of it and I wasn't getting my needs met. I thought about cheating all the time and I was like, well, I guess no one is immune.
When I was in an unhappy marriage, I thought, well, all marriages are unhappy because certainly a lot of them are. And I thought, well, my marriage is unhappy, but everyone else's is, and this is just what it is. And I'm cool with it. Oddly, never cheated on my spouse because I did think that marriage was important. I think the thing about cheating on boyfriends and girlfriends is once you've been in the world a little bit, you know that it's just a couple words between being someone's boyfriend or girlfriend and not.
That's not much of anything. Let's just forget about it.
It's just like tissue paper. It's just woo. Although I was telling baby niece a story.
She's an adult woman.
My baby niece has been living with me and it's been really fun and it's been great hanging out with her. And I don't remember how it came up, but I was talking about how when I was a child in suburban Dallas, I was dating a person who went to my school and lived in my suburb. And then I was also dating a person who lived in Dallas and I did not go to school with. And I sincerely thought in the alt punk goth skater community, whatever I was in.
It was so vast.
It was so vast in the metropolitan area of Dallas, Texas. I'm like, I'm never going to get busted. Never going to get busted. And then the one boyfriend informed me that he was at a party talking to another guy. And they're like talking about, I guess, girls. And he said, I'm going out with this girl, Ginny, in Plano. And the other guy said, really? I'm going out.
Is it Jenny Ryan or is it Jenny Smith?
Jenny's very common, but Ginny is not the most common name.
Right.
So yeah, I got cold busted, just like in that song about a squirrel trying to get a nut. But also I just could not believe that I got busted. And I've never gotten busted again.
She learned. Okay, so we're going to start off with some infidelity statistics. on Men, Women, and Relationships by Gabriel Appleberry, LMFT. In a study titled America's Generation Gap in Extramarital Affairs, 20% of older couples noted that they have cheated during their marriage. 14% of couples under the age of 55 reported adultery. Most people who cheat have been married for 20 to 30 years and are between the ages of 50 and 60.
Don't you think that after being in a successful marriage for 20 to 30 years, don't you get a pass?
Can't keep it in your pants for a couple years?
Like, these people deserve it.
Do they?
They've earned it.
I think it's like we talked about in a previous episode. You never know. You just don't know what's going on with the other person. Married men report their highest rate of infidelity in their 70s.
Wow. I mean, that's impressive. Like, that's just science.
Well, that's just science that's intervened.
Right. It's a new science.
The APA also cited that 42% of divorced individuals reported multiple affairs. Well, wonderful. Dr. Jan Halper, in her book on successful men, curious about what that book's like, noted that only 3% of men who engaged in extramarital affairs actually married the mistress. That was interesting. 3%. That's pretty low.
That is pretty low. To women who are dating a married man, please know that your odds are not good.
No. According to noted marriage counselor Frank Pittman, men who do marry their paramours, is what it says, I'm going to call it affair partners, have a divorce rate as high as 75%.
We recently did an episode about dating and relationships where it's pointed out if a man is cheating on his spouse, once he's out of that marriage, he's not going to jump right into the next marriage. Now, that was not my case because this person loved being married. So he did marry his affair partner and they're still together and blessed.
This person might be codependent also, right?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
I don't think he can really, if it's the person I'm thinking about who you're married to, I don't think he can really exist particularly well on his own. So yeah, I think you're right. I think a lot of people have affairs because of cowardice, because they're not willing to bite the bullet and actually dump somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're trying to find a soft out, basically.
Right. As the breaker-upper, it is a lot easier to say, I've fallen in love with someone else, or I had a moment of weakness and I cheated with someone else, than to say, we are fundamentally incompatible. You have let me down in lots of big and little ways. I'm done with it. Hilariously, one time in college, I was dating a gentleman and I slept with a lady and then brought that to him as evidence that we should break up. And he was like, nah, I'm cool with that.
Yeah. You want to do it in front of me, even better.
And I did not know what to do then.
You're like, wait a minute, this dumb strategy I've made up isn't working. I guess my thought is I would never cheat because I would never give that man the benefit of thinking that it wasn't him. I want people to know, hey, this didn't work out because of the choices you have made in this relationship, because I don't ever want to be the bad guy.
But also, I mean, one of my life learnings is I had my own part in my unhappy marriage. Like, I think that's something we know in this podcast. Laura is God's perfect angel who has never done anything wrong. And I'm a scumbag.
So let's talk about why do people cheat on each other? Esther Perel is kind of the go-to therapist for infidelity. That's her meat and potatoes. So she wrote a book called Mating in Captivity. The concept of the book is that the way we're living is not natural and not normal, and we're not doing it right. And so affairs happen because we're not really living in community and we're not doing what we should be doing. So here's a quote. Today, we turn to one person to provide what an entire village once did. A sense of grounding, meaning, and continuity. And at the same time, we expect our committed relationship to be romantic as well as emotionally and sexually fulfilling. Is it any wonder that so many relationships crumble under the weight of it all?
One thing that I have learned in this life is that your spouse or your partner is not there to fulfill all of your needs, rescue you, inherently make your life 100 times better. They're just another person trying to get through life. There's things you can offer each other, but they're not a magical being. They're not a replacement for my friends. They're not a replacement for my family. I think that they should be an important person in your life, mostly, but they're not 360 degrees of fulfillment.
I disagree that they should be the most important person in your life. I really don't think they should. I think they should be one of many. Because why? Because we bought a house together and we have sex? Because then I've known my sisters my whole life. You're supposed to be more important than them. Like, I was having that conversation with a client the other day. Her friend is dating this loser who's not great. He's kind of a MAGA supporter and not awesome. And she was like, well, I guess we're going to have to figure out how to like fit him into this mess. I'm like, why does he get, they've been dating for like a month. Why does he get anything? Why do we have to work our way around some jackass that's been around for a month?
Well, and that's going back to our previous topic that women have been trained that the most important thing that we can be is in a relationship. And so we're terrified of not being in one. And so even a bad one is better than none at all, which I don't agree with.
I don't agree with that either. Here's some things that Esther Perel said. The grand illusion of committed love is that we think our partners are ours. In truth, their separateness is unassailable and their mystery is forever ungraspable. As soon as we can begin to acknowledge this, sustained desire becomes a real possibility. It's remarkable to me how a sudden threat to the status quo, an affair, an infatuation, a prolonged absence, or even a really good fight can suddenly ignite desire. There's nothing like the fear of loss to make those old shoes look new again.
Oh, God. I don't want to be an old shoe.
But you are. Like, that's the thing. I saw a TikTok just now, and there's a guy saying, you know, we have this whole narrative that over time, your partner is going to become boring and day to day, and you should be lusting after them forever. But I'm like, that's not how the brain works.
But also, I mean, familiarity breeds contempt. When you really know somebody and you can predict all their moves and they continue to disappoint you, that's not sexy.
No. And I think they become more like family. And, you know, family is like an old pair of shoes. You can kick them around and do whatever you want sometimes. Some people think that.
I think that's a mistake that we both made in early relationships. You've committed to me. I've committed to you. Now I can treat you however badly I want. And then also be treated badly.
Right. Because I own you.
Right.
To me, that was one of the biggest learning lessons that I had in my marriage is like, I don't own you. You are an autonomous being. We've just decided to pair up with each other and make some shared purchases. You don't owe me anything. And you don't have to do what I want.
I do think that in marriage, you are expected to prioritize your husband above all other people, especially your friends. Like I lost a friendship in my marriage because she and my husband were at odds. And I'm like, well, I got to pick him because I live with, like we're trying to build a life together. This is what being a good wife is.
Right. Well, I mean, I think it definitely did a lot of damage to my relationship with our younger sister because he was insisting that I could only talk to her on the phone at certain times when I wasn't home. And I went along with it. And looking back, like that was dumb.
You know, we talked about it at the time that's thing one on the list of things abusive men do. Like that's the first thing is restrict your access to family and friends.
Right. But his whole point was, well, you're in graduate school and you're working full time and you have no time for me. So at least when you're at home, please talk to me. But that means that I don't have time to talk to anyone else.
Right.
I really like this quote from Esther. Love is an exercise in selective perception.
Accentuate
the positive. So Proust says, the real voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes. I think that's really important.
I'm struggling with this rhetoric. The path to sustained love is pretending things about your partner.
I don't think it's pretending. I think it's choosing to focus on, right? Because if you think about people in your life, maybe someone you work with or someone you gave birth to, they might do a lot of stuff that's super annoying. But if I put all of my focus and energy on basically picking them apart, then I am not going to love them or even like them. So when I work with couples, the first thing we do is we sit down and we start with appreciations. And so when I'm starting out on that note and I'm appreciating my partner and I'm not taking them for granted, I'm going to be a much better partner.
I think the challenge is when you have a long, long relationship, it's you both want to be growing, but both growing in the same pace, in the same direction.
I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's the goal. I think it's that we are going to respect each other no matter what direction we're growing in. We're going to be happy and curious about the other person because love rests on two pillars, surrender and autonomy. Our need for togetherness exists alongside our need for separateness. Love means being our own autonomous selves, right? And also existing together as some kind of unit. Mm-hmm. So just because you have a phase where you get really into recycling, and maybe that's not my jam, I can still respect your autonomy. I can still respect you as a person. Even if the thing you're doing doesn't make sense to me or isn't my thing, I can still love you and care about you in your own autonomous version of yourself in your life.
I will say that a challenge in my previous relationships has been when my partner thinks that because they love something, I must not just respect it and honor that they enjoy it. I must also dive in head first. And if I do not love them.
I have also had that experience, and I find it very entitled and rude and disrespectful, because I remember that with my first boyfriend. If I didn't like the music he liked, if I didn't wear the clothes he liked, if I didn't put makeup on the way he thought I should put makeup on, then it was a wrap, because I'm supposed to be molding myself into a mini me of him. And that is just not going to work, because I was my own person before and I've been my own person since.
I was talking with a friend about this the other day, about how women are kind of expected to stay this like fluid, formless being. This like tofu girlfriend goes along with anything, so that until they find the man, and then they can like wedge themselves into his mold and then just be twinsies and wear similar outfits.
Yeah, it just makes sense. My hope was always that I could mold the other person to do the things I liked, so that I could dress my partner up like a sailor, listen to
a sexy sailor.
Yeah, listen to early Kanye all the time.
I think when you're in a new relationship, you want to share the things that are very special to you, the things that are precious. You just want to expose them, like, this is part of me. This is a movie that I've really taken to. This is a book that's been important to me. But there's a difference between that and expecting them to
like it and love
like
it
as much.
Again, that is entitlement. I am entitled to your brain. I am entitled to your thoughts and your feelings. You have to be like me. That doesn't work. So Esther also has a blinkered view of marriage. Despite a 50% divorce rate for first marriages and a 65% the second time around, despite the staggering frequency of affairs, despite the fact that monogamy is a ship sinking faster than anyone can bail it out, we continue to cling to the wreckage with absolute faith in its structural soundness.
Right. Marriage is just something that we as people thought of. I think that pairing up is natural, but I don't think marriage is natural. And there's nothing about the system that makes prolonged marriage even very likely. Marriage is just a series of rules that we made up. There's no reason for it to be inherently lasting.
Well, and I think it lasts only because women didn't have any rights. Like, I think that's why it exists, right?
My bleak opinion, I mean, I have many, but one of my bleak opinions on marriage is that, like, marriage doesn't exist because love lasts. Marriage exists because love does not last, but you still have community property and you still have children and you still got tasks to perform together.
Right. I don't think marriage is about love. I think marriage is about making a commitment to each other to work a farm together or, build a house together. It's about finding a partner to move through life and do the contractual stuff of life with. I don't think that is about love. I don't think that you have to have that to have love. But I think it's really important, especially if you're a woman, because even in our modern times, women still don't have any rights. So I think of it as a way to make sure your nest is feathered and you're protected to some degree. Okay, so now we're going to talk about Not Just Friends, a book by Shirley Glass. I was going to say I've enjoyed it. I haven't enjoyed it.
You've read it with rancor and a lot of familiar feelings.
Right. It was a very validating book. This book is about people being caught having affairs, right? Not just friends, because that's something that people say a lot when they're having affairs. I think, to me, the way to avoid having an affair is to care and respect for your partner more than you care about yourself. I've been doing it my whole life, and it has not worked out well. One man told me, on a good day when things are going well, I'm committed to my wife. On a day when things are just okay, I'm committed to my marriage. And on a day when things aren't so great, I satisfy myself by being committed to my commitment.
He sounds like fun.
Sounds like a great person.
I think that's part of why marriages fail, is like, I have no reason to be committed to the institution of marriage itself. Like, I was committed to my marriage just in that, like, I'm like, well, I got myself into this and I guess this is just where I live now. But I wouldn't do that today.
Well, I'm committed to my partner. Because I wouldn't want someone to do it to me, I don't do it to others. And sometimes I have found that others have done it to me. It's kind of the same as like what we talked about, and he's just not that into you. This is why I would never ghost someone, because I know how terrible it feels to be ghosted, right? So I don't want someone else to go through that. I try to hold up my side of the bargain. Because I do owe people something. Unfaithful husbands in long-term marriages describe their affairs as more emotional than sexual. Men whose affairs were primarily sexual seldom chose to leave their wife. One finding revealed that the most threatening kind of infidelity combined a deep emotional attachment with sexual intercourse. Why do you think that that would be more difficult?
Because that's where love comes from. You can just have sex with someone and you can just have a bonded, like a powerful talking relationship. But when you do the things together, that's what love is. That's where love is born.
Right. And I think, for me, emotional affairs are horrible, but the idea of someone being emotionally entrusted and probably talking about me and also sharing fluids with you, that's really not okay.
Conventional wisdom is that men have physical affairs and women have emotional affairs, that men are more like just about having sex with another person, and that women are looking for more empathy and affection. And so you're saying that in men's case, the affairs that include a primarily emotional component are going to be the more life-changing ones for them.
Right. But they will probably also likely contain intercourse. So it used to be kind of more of a men are the ones out in the streets making the affairs happen. But according to this book, Not Just Friends, men and women today have the opportunity to meet as equals, to develop collegial relationships and mutual interests, and escalate those relationships into love affairs. Therapists and researchers are observing a significant increase in infidelity by married women. Every era has its defining stories, and one of ours may be a new crisis of infidelity.
As I understand it, or like what I've been led to believe, that is kind of the birth of Ashley Madison, right? Because it was men and women on there. But that one of the disconnects of Ashley Madison is that men said that they were there for physical affairs and women were there for emotional affairs. So you had, once again, two groups of people looking for totally different things.
And also lying. I think it's that thing that you were talking about. We talked about this when we were talking about Dave Chappelle. When you think about all touch as sexual and, everything is emotional because I don't have other ways that we go back to the friend zone episode, or why don't men have friends? Because I don't have the ability, because of the society in which we live, I don't have the ability to connect emotionally with anyone in a non-sexual way.
Right.
And my affair partner has to be that for me.
Right. Because I couldn't get this from a friend. I couldn't get it from a family member. The only person that I can be vulnerable and intimate with is the person who has seen my penis.
Right. Exactly. I can only be close to people who I lay naked with. I have this conversation a lot have had this conversation a lot with people over the years who come into my office and talk about how it just happened. Right. And what I say is, no, you didn't slip on a crack and accidentally have sex with somebody. You had a series of small missteps that led you to this path, right? So Step one was, we should exchange numbers to talk more about this project. Hey, you know what? We're working late. Maybe we should just go grab some Chinese food and just eat it here at the office in a super chill way. Hey, here we are. Let's get a couple cocktails. We're celebrating. Let's schedule that out of town meeting at the same time. Maybe we can just stay in the same hotel and hang out.
Right. There's a bunch and I do think that people sometimes make these decisions subconsciously or not 100% consciously. Like one hand does not always know what the other hand is doing, but it's a bunch of little steps that add to a thing.
Right. And somebody's definition, I don't remember who, but I remember reading somewhere that if you're not willing to do it in front of your partner, then it's an affair.
Shouldn't do it.
Whatever it is, it's an affair. You're engaging in affair behaviors.
Right. But also, I don't want to be in a Mike Pence world where I can't have lunch or dinner with someone of the opposite sex because I guess my pants will fall off. Like I can have friendships and relationships that are non-sexual with men. I
can, but you know what's different. You know when it's a different person, right? And you know that you're doing it and they know that they're doing it and you do it anyway. So I'm not saying that you can't ever have lunch with someone you're attracted to. But what I'm saying is it's death by 1,000 paper cuts. Affairs happen slowly over time, but it's because you start thinking about the boundaries and you start being real loose and casual with your boundaries. Like I read this, it was something like 47% of people interviewed who'd had an affair thought about their partner when they were having intercourse with their affair partner. And when they turned it around and had sex with their partner, they thought about their affair partner 67% of the time. As I tell my clients, the grass looks greener on the other side of the fence only because we don't have to mow it. Fences allow us to focus on cultivating the good things growing in our own gardens and allow others the privacy to do the same.
That's so funny because I was just going to say grass is greener, but that's exactly where you were going.
Circling back to your question about women, Dr. Kathy Nickerson wrote an article called Why Do Women Cheat?
Mhm.
Most of the time, according to her, affairs are a painkiller. In my experience, people are hurting and they want some relief from the pain, so they'll seek out or allow a new relationship to flourish because it takes them out of their painful world.
Yes, and it's a fantasy. And there's all the doves, right? All the feel-good feelings of a new relationship can allay some of the pain you're experiencing in your real world life or your primary life.
Yeah, because it doesn't require any work. It's easy to do the early stages of an affair partnership. It is not easy to figure out what's going on when you've been married for 30 years.
Right. And that's been an annoying theme of my life. I'm with someone and I think I can identify some things that they need to work on. And maybe they even agree. But then instead of going to therapy or seeking medication or anything else, they just start over with somebody else because they no longer have those problems.
It's a clean slate.
Clean slate. A new person with all the chemicals they feel, they're like, well, I'm not depressed anymore because she's so great.
Right.
I no longer have sexual dysfunction.
This is going to last forever.
This is going to last forever.
Because of her. Yeah, exactly. According to Kathy Nickerson, over the years, I have found that affairs are very likely when three things happen at the same time. 1, a relationship is strained. 2, the person is not doing well, suffering from some type of depression or anxiety. And 3, some trauma or triggering event happens. That combo seems to put us in a world of hurt when we make impulsive choices.
The conventional wisdom on affairs is that, and it's a very simplistic view, is that people get bored of having physical sex with the other person and they just need some novelty. But I think that this is much closer to the truth, that you are looking for an escape from a situation that is sometimes unpleasant, that you are stressed and need to manage all these feelings. So you start seeking out a new receptor kind of. I did have a funny conversation in my last relationship where I'm in love with Matt Berry from What We Do in the Shadows.
As are we all.
And I think this is something people know about me. And I was asked to audition for the show. And so then I really got to fantasize about what if I'm on set with Matt Berry? I told my boyfriend, I'm like, hey, look, if I go to Toronto,
anything could happen.
Anything could happen. If stuff breaks my way, he has to be my hall pass. And he said, well, you don't get a hall pass.
This guy is slightly famous.
He's slightly famous and he's adorable. Don't you understand that?
He's made albums. I can sleep with him now. That sounds like a strange justification for very bad behavior, but we could use that as an example. So let's say that you got the gig, right? You're in a committed partnership. So probably step 1 would be to never mention your partner in front of Matt Berry.
Right.
Step 2 would be, oh, we're all going out for drinks. I'm going to go to that.
Right.
Let's just hang out a little bit longer. I want to tell you a humorous story. That's step 3. Then, we're off to the races. One thing that I learned from not just friends is that you can have an affair for any reason or no reason at all. There's a whole list of stuff people have said about why they had an affair or how it happened. And a lot of it is I was feeling fat.
And they made me feel attractive. Yeah.
Right. It was just an opportunity. I was drunk and they were cute. Sometimes it is really, truly nothing. I think I'm going to say most of the time. I think most of the time it's a thoughtful, planned event. You asked about how it breaks down with women. So I think the core reason is usually the same, but it presents a little bit differently in women. Women will say they feel invisible, unappreciated, like their sole purpose is to take care of everyone, and they want someone to take care of them.
Right. I think that married women, when they were being pursued, they felt interesting, but now they're just a person who's taken on a series of jobs. It's their job to raise the children they had. It's their job to cater to their husband. And they're not being treated like the super sexy, fun, interesting person that they were when the relationship was new.
Right. And even if you're not married, I remember being in a relationship for 10 years and we were not married, but I remember feeling like an old shoe. Put her back in the closet. Who cares? Women also want to feel like women, not just a mom or caregiver. They want to feel smart, attractive, and interesting. They want to feel seen for who they are, i.e., someone who loves art and reads about Lincoln and is valued for their personality and thoughts. Women want to know that they uniquely matter to their partner and are special in some ways.
The not mentioning the partner thing is very funny to me because, yeah, many times I have been friends with a man for months and months. And then it happens a lot in comedy, like on Valentine's Day, every guy trots out a girlfriend that he has never mentioned on stage and he has never mentioned to any of his friends and female friends in comedy. And we're like, oh, well, there she is. There's Samantha. Isn't that cute? It's this amazing Jack in the Box. Pop goes the girlfriend.
Right. And it's like, really? Really, man?
Really?
You are sus AF. Are you kidding me?
Super sus. It's super sus behavior. But so I asked this guy, like, who's your hall pass? Who's your fantasy person? And he was like, I don't have anybody like that. I'm like, okay, really? This is a human nature thing. Like, actors make their living off of being attractive to large swaths of people. I'm like, okay. So you're at home. I'm not there. Scarlett Johansson in her Black Widow outfit, ScarJo, rest in peace, Black Widow, much respect. She knocks on the door and she's just begging for it. She has to be with you. You wouldn't take advantage of that. And he said, I would take her to the mental hospital because she's having some sort of a psychotic break.
She's married to a hot person.
She is married to a hot.
She may have had a stroke. But that's the thing. So let's say that I, somehow happened upon ScarJo at work.
Right.
I need to be heavily boundaried around her because that's going to be a difficult one. And I need to mention my partner in our first 30 seconds of conversation.
Right.
Stephanie has a podcast called We Still Like Each Other, and she wrote an article called Why Don't You Cheat? And why have you cheated in the past? People cheat because of immaturity and a lack of self-control, vengeance, fulfilling an unmet desire, a lack of respect and commitment, ego feeding, attention seeking, and a you only live once mindset. So basically, do that thing that feels good, even if it's the wrong thing.
In the moment, right.
So I think it's impulse control also. That's another contributing factor. And just emotional immaturity. Because maybe I do only live once, but I'm still married to somebody. If I do the deed with ScarJo, that's not going to make my marriage better. It's probably going to make it a whole lot worse.
But you still get to be the person who did the deed with ScarJo. She's not going to hot, funny husband for you. Like, this is a one-off.
ScarJo is an interesting lady. Yeah. She could really go in any direction. I mean, the fact that she ended up with Colin Jost is kind of weird. I thought it would be, somebody a little bit more on her level. I don't know.
But women love funny men.
Mm-hmm.
And Colin Jost is almost funny.
And he's definitely a head and shoulders above the average comedian in terms of attractiveness.
For sure.
So men are more likely to have affairs than women and are often seeking more sex or attention. Men express their love in a more physical way. They often don't have the perfect feeling words for their wives. So sex becomes an important path to connection and intimacy. When women cheat, they are often trying to fulfill an emotional void. Women frequently complain of disconnection from a spouse and of the wish to be desired and cherished. Women are more likely to feel unappreciated or ignored, like we talked about before. An affair is more often a transitional partner for a woman as a way to end the relationship, like you talked about. She's seriously looking to leave her marriage, and this person can help her to do that. But it's a transitional person, right? So Esther Perel says, if you have one night in Tokyo with a rando, she says, don't tell anybody about it because
it's not going to change your life. It's not going
to make things worse.
Right. I side with that. And also that it's kind of selfish. Like the people who are like in movies, they'll be like, I just couldn't keep it to myself anymore. Like that's selfish. You're hurting your partner.
You feel guilty and you're trying to assuage your own guilt. Right. And I agree with her on that too. All it's going to do is damage your relationship and it's for nothing because you don't care about that person.
You don't care about that person. It's not going to be a continuing thing. You just had too much sake.
Right. So what are some of the risk factors you might be asking? Problems in the marital relationship can also be a risk factor for cheating. Some of these include emotional abuse, domestic violence, emotional and or physical disconnect, financial pressure, lack of communication, lack of respect, and low compatibility. So people who are married for the wrong reasons. Low compatibility can lead to a sense of buyer's remorse because we're living in a capitalist hellscape.
I'm of the opinion that if a woman has been suffering through like emotional or physical abuse in a marriage and she needs to cheat to get out of it, God bless. Go with God.
I feel like that's probably not the move if you're trying not to get unalived by a man.
No, that's true. Might not be wise. Do you think that an affair can ever be beneficial for an individual or a marriage because it does kind of reset your view of yourself, your value, like your view of your partner? Like for a woman, it can reinvigorate her sexuality. For a man, he can start to feel himself a little bit. Do you think that it's ever a benefit?
Well, I don't know if that's a benefit, but I think having all the cards on the table and really focusing on why it happened and understanding why it happened, I think that's important. So, for example, should an affair be disclosed? The risks of hiding or revealing infidelity. Dr. Yael Schonbrun said, many couples say that they wouldn't wish this experience on anybody else. Infidelity research, Gordon says, but that the growth involved led them to a much better understanding of themselves and their relationships, and often a stronger relationship ultimately.
And I think that if you've been having trouble in your relationship, an affair is sometimes a symptom that, just like people who anger tells them something about what's going wrong, an affair or desire to have an affair can help you focus in on what's going wrong in your marriage.
Right. I think it draws attention to the problems in the marriage, right? Because maybe before you had kind of an oozing wound and now you got some with blood squirting out of it, and it's a lot more obvious. In therapy, my patients work to understand why the affair happened, to rebuild trust, make amends, offer forgiveness, and reconstruct a more mutually satisfying relationship. It is agonizing work and also productive and healing.
Well, let's see. What do we know about cheating? I know that if you meet someone who's cheating on someone and you get together with them, they will cheat on you because that's how they end relationships.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's what the 75% divorce rate thing is. Yeah. Right. If they're cheating with you, then they will probably likely be cheating on you. I was watching Wendy Williams' documentary last night, and she was talking about how her husband cheated on her like when her baby was like 2 months old, because she said she woke up in the night, he wasn't in the bed. And she thought, oh, he must be with the baby, nursing the baby or something. No, he was in a spare room, and she overheard him on a phone conversation with another woman at 3:00 in the morning. And she stuck with him. Same woman he eventually had a baby with.
But like postpartum, and one of the many reasons I feel that you can't trust men enough to have children with them. Postpartum, I understand, is a huge time for men to have affairs or seek affairs because, one, they're not getting the sex that they feel like they're entitled to. And two, she's putting all of her attention on this human you made together. That's no fun.
Well, because I'm not the center of the world anymore.
Right.
Entitlement.
A friend of mine was cheated on, and on the topic of like, it just happened. That's what he told her. But she was like, it didn't just happen. Like, you knew someone at work, you started spending time with just her, you went to her house, you met her friends and family. This was a whole project that you were doing very much on purpose.
Right. And one of my favorite guilty pleasures is to listen to, it's called War of the Roses or To Catch a Cheater, where a radio host will call someone and say, hey, you've got these free roses. Who would you like to send them to? And it's usually the affair partner because the partner was right.
And people who cheat are also very cheap.
Is that a fact?
Yep. That's why they want to send free flowers to the affair partner.
I think it's more like, well, this isn't going to show up on the bank statement. I can do this totally like below. I think that's why they do it that way. This is like, yeah. And it's not costing me anything. My partner's not going to know. He always makes them inscribe something in the card for the flowers, and it always gives them away. And then it's hilarious to me because the partner is sitting on the phone waiting. Usually when they hear that the person has chosen another person to send the flowers to, they get upset and start talking and screaming. And, when the person gets caught, they always say the same stuff. It's like you were talking about, when a man trolls you online, he's going to say 5 things. These people, every time they get caught, they say, how dare you do this on the radio? I need to think about what this means. You've breached our trust. Right. And you've trapped me. How dare you? This is so humiliating. Everyone's going to hear this. But they, it's always the same like 3 things. It's so dumb. People are dumb. we were talking about Helen Fisher. Do you remember Helen Fisher did those horrible experiments on people at the beginning and end of relationships?
Right.
We talked about her in a previous episode. But, so she's an anthropologist and she talks about chimpanzees. And a lot of people say, chimpanzees are our cousins. No, they're like our sisters and brothers. Our DNA is so finitely different from them. We're almost exactly the same. And when you look at chimpanzees, if we're talking about nature, like what is natural, the way that chimpanzees make babies is that a lady goes into heat, I guess, estrus, whatever, and a bunch of guys just get around her. They all have a shot and she has a baby. And basically, Helen Fisher said the only reason we have commitments like we do is because we don't have hair on our backs. Because a baby chimp can hold on to the hair on your back and you can walk around and be independent. But human beings don't have that. So if I'm fighting off a predator and I'm holding a baby, we're both going to die. So I have to pair off with someone at least to get to the baby to a certain level of development so that they can protect themselves. Right.
So if only we had hair on our backs or fewer predators, every relationship would be a gangbang that resulted in a child. And also in that situation, because there's no evidence of paternity and the chimps probably don't even think about this chimp, the other chimp, there's no reason for jealousy. There's no reason for any of it.
Because there is no patriarchy. They don't have patriarchy.
It's a chimp.
I don't know about being dogpiled in the woods. But one thing she talks about is when you look at the archaeological records of early man, they did not stay together for long. You would stay together until the baby was about 3 or 4. And then you go find another dude, get knocked up again, do the whole thing again. Monogamy is not natural. That's why I think we need to be very careful. But also there isn't another system that works.
Right. Nobody who claims to have solved it, not the free love people, not the polycule people, nobody has come up with a system that's any more successful than monogamy. And monogamy is not successful.
No, I don't think any of them works. I think monogamy is good for managing land and property rights and all that stuff. And, taking care of children. I think marriage.
Who goes to the PTA meeting? That determines that.
Right. I think it's not natural. And so that's why I think we need to be extra cautious and extra careful because lust is the most natural thing. So, Virginia, what are your final thoughts on infidelity?
I guess the difference between your standpoint and my standpoint is I do not desire to have a relationship last for the rest of my life. I don't think it's natural. I don't really want it. Laura, what are your final thoughts on this topic?
My final thoughts are, I think infidelity is such a rampant issue. I think monogamy is weird. I think we all just need to be more honest with each other. I think if I'm unhappy, I need to just talk to you about it. This is my thought. Whenever I've had relationships where I've considered choosing infidelity, I see that as, hey, this is information that I'm not doing well in this relationship and I don't think it's going to work. So I choose to walk away with my head held high and not be blamed.
Right.
And just say, hey, this isn't for me. And I feel like that's the mature choice.
Yes, I do think you're right. I think the main justification that people put in their minds about affairs is, well, I wasn't happy. My partner wasn't keeping me happy. I went blah, 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 blah. I'm going to go find somebody else to make you happy. Guess what? They're not going to either.
No, no one can make me happy but me. Right?
Right. That's thing one.
Right. And if I arrive at the conclusion where doing the nasty with a rando is the better option, then I don't need to be in this relationship.
In the fantastic book I just read, I Don't Care About Your Band by Julie Klausner, she had a guy pursuing her aggressively, talking all about, if only your boyfriend wasn't around. It's you're so perfect. If only your boyfriend. And so she did the honorable thing and she went and broke up with this guy. She's like, I left that boring old love relationship with a guy who was nice to me to have this new exciting guy. And the second she said, here I am, free and easy, he was out because he only wanted to have an affair.
Right. That same thing happened with Amy Poehler and Paul Rudd, allegedly.
Laura, this is the part of the podcast where sometimes you read a listener review. Do you have one for us this week?
I certainly do. Maeve's Lily, the title is Science and Humor. My 2 love languages combined in one podcast. I like that the episodes tackle relevant content in a way that's relatable for so many people. If you haven't listened yet, just do it. You won't be disappointed. Thanks, Maeve's Lily.
That's really nice. Thank you. And if you want to cheat on somebody, just break up with them. Just do that.
Word
That's
of
the easy thing.
advice. If you're thinking about cheating, just break up.
Just break up.
Or actually, you have two options: break up or go to therapy.
On the television show Monk, it's a lot of people who are murdering their wives because they want to have an affair. And I told my husband at the time, like, you don't have to kill me. You can just leave. And that's why I'm alive today.
That's the only reason.
To tell the tale. Laura, where can people find you on the internet should they want to?
They can find me lauraryan.org. They can find me at mysistersatherapist.com. They can also, if they'd like to, send us an email at hello@mysistersatherapist.com if they want to talk about how smart we are or how many interesting things they're learning or ideas for show topics. They can email us there. They can also email us at hireus@mysistersatherapist.com. If you'd like us to speak at your women's conference, your vegetarian conference, your mental health conference, your retreat,
Plumbers Convention,
your plumbers convention, or all the things. You can also find me on TikTok. I am Laura Ryan. Virginia, if people want to find you on these interwebs, how would they do it?
They can find me at bedinia.com. I have my show calendar up there. I'm on TikTok as Bedinia. Everything in my life is Bedinia, a nonsense word that I made up. And to close, in the immortal words of Billy Ray Valentine, Capricorn.
We can make it, baby.
Me and you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.